Okay guys, so what you see in front of you are some budget BFS spools that I've been acquiring from AliExpress over the last few months. But before we go into my future plans for them, let's do a long overdue update on a particular reel. And that reel, of course, is the Poor Man's Budget T3 Air that I put together a few months ago. Now originally I was going to do a separate casting video for this reel, and as well as try to throw a trout magnet with it, which was the purpose of putting this reel together. And that was to see if it could beat my Ultimate Aldebaran BFS in casting a trout magnet, due to its 3D brake system. But then out of the blue, DAIWA came out with this reel, the 2020 Alphas Air TW, and they came out with it pretty quick after they announced it, so I bought one, and I was gonna kill two birds with one stone and wait until I received my Alphas and do a cast comparison video between these two reels, and I actually did that along with my SS Air. Now unfortunately the video footage didn't turn out to be acceptable in my opinion, but something about this reel made me just pack it up and put it in its box and just sit there. Now I've been getting some emails and questions about what happened to this reel, so a few days ago I figured I'd go out on the water and try to replicate what happened out on the water the first time with this reel and show you what happened. And here's that footage. Okay guys, so I'm out here with the Budget T3 Air, and I'm going to try to show you guys the problem I had with this reel the first time I took it out to cast it. Now I've got it mounted on the Major Craft Corza 6'5" ultralight. I have 4-pound mono. I have the spool tension set to just minimize the side-to-side play. I have the main brake setting to maximum braking, and we're gonna turn the dial up to the maximum brake setting of 20. So this is the maximum magnetic setting you can get on this reel. And we're gonna start off with a heavier bait finesse lure, the Rapala Ultralight Minnow number 4, weighs 3.2 grams with this snap swivel probably closer to 3.5, so 1/8 of an ounce. All right, so let's start casting. All right, so as you can see, I got a really good distance there, and I just flicked my wrist. Spool was pretty much controlled. I'm gonna try to get this lure through here without getting hung up. Let's do a couple more casts. All right, let's try an overhead cast. All right, so far, so good. And I will admit, when I took this reel out and pit it against the new Alphas Air TW, the old SS Air, with this particular lure, it was out casting both of those reels by probably almost 5 foot. Okay, so we're gonna back the brakes down on the external dial to 19. All right, so I predict, this cast is going out there probably at least 30 yards. Spool still controlled. Let's do an overhead cast. All right, had some overrun there. I think I might have had too much line out on the cast, but overhead cast was successful. Now let's turn the brakes down one more click to 18. So we're still on the upper end of the braking here. All right, so at 18, I'm already starting to see some overrun on the spool. Let's do one more cast. Yep, definitely seeing some overrun. Lure not going out quite as far, probably because of the overruns. Now let's do an overhead cast. So right there I had an overrun that caused the lure to fall short. Oop, and I think yeah. Now I remember with the T-wing system, sometimes it does cause line management issues with the line bunching up on one side. Let me try to sort this out with a long cast. Okay, so let's go down to 17. Okay, so with just a flick of my wrist, 17 was doable. Let's put some more effort into this cast now. So distance, not really going up versus the higher brake settings. Let's go down to 16. All right, had an overrun there. Okay, so I had an overrun on that cast as well. That sorted itself out. Now, that was not the smoothest casting stroke ever, but let's go down to 15. All right, so 15 with a nice smooth casting stroke. I did get some good distance. Let's go down to 14. Okay, had a blow up there. Let's do one more cast in 14. All right, had another blow up. So basically 15 or 16 is probably the lowest you can go on the mag force setting on the max brake 3D brake setting. I was hoping I'd be able to go way lower than that, get much more distance. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna turn the mag force back to 20, and we're gonna change the 3D setting to all around, which gives us even less brake setting. All right, so I had a pretty big loop there that caused this. Hopefully I'll be able to pick this out. Okay, yeah, see, I'm not able to pick that out. But long story short, when I previously tested this reel, I was not able to go lower than, 19 or 20 in the all-around brake setting, which was very disappointing. And when I changed to the long cast setting, it was pretty much uncastable even on the number 20 brake setting. And that's the problem with this reel. It doesn't have enough braking, and we'll talk about that when I get back home. You know, it's kind of funny. This reel actually did a lot better this time around than it did the first time around. But needless to say, I'm still very disappointed in the results. Now, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I was very disappointed in the fact that I could not go into the other main brake settings. I had to stay in max brake. So basically, this reel has a total of 60 brake settings, and I could really only access 3 or 4. So they were all in the max brake position. I couldn't do anything in the all around, and I definitely couldn't do anything in the long cast. The spool was just too fast, too under braked, and it would just blow the spool up. Now granted, with that 1/8 ounce lure, this reel was outcasting, you know, the SS Air as well as the Alpha's Air TW in the maximum brake setting by a few feet. But I'll go more into what happened between the Alphas and the SS Air in a future video. And I think I figured out why this spool is pretty much almost unusable, and that is because the rotor on this spool is so thin. It is wafer thin, and also, as you can see in the back, they have removed a ton of material on the back of this rotor. Now here's the spool of the Alpha's Air TW, and while the material on the rotor is still thin, it is not nearly as thin as it is on this RORO spool. And then you can look at the back of the rotor, all the metal is there, while once again they pretty much removed almost all the metal on the rotor of this RORO spool. So I don't think there's enough metal here to conduct any kind of significant magnetic current in order to effectively slow this spool down in the lower brake settings. So that's pretty disappointing considering the price that I paid for this reel, but I am still going to try to cast a trout magnet with it, and I'm also going to try it out in the STEEZ, which was the reel that this was meant for to begin with. So on to the aftermarket spools. Now let's talk about this first spool, and this is probably the best package spool I've ever received, regardless if it's from AliExpress or Japan. And this is the TATULA spool that I had shown you guys in a previous video. And if you go to Roar Fishing, he's already received his and done some cast tests with his spool, if you want to go check out his channel for that. But yeah, check that out. Now the reason I got this spool, of course, is because it has a functioning rotor like DAIWA had intended. It looks like it is the air brake style rotor as well. Let you guys take a good look at this. So I'm going to be popping this in some TATULAs, and we'll see what's what. But that's coming in the future. I'm showing you guys these previews because I do get quite a few emails asking about some of these spools. Alright, so the next spool is one that I've had for quite a while. It is for the Scorpion 70. So that means this also fits the CURADO 70, and it's a shallow BFS spool from Ray's Studio. As you can see, I guess the brake hub is already attached, so I don't need to remove any brake hubs from other Shimano reels, but I will need to transfer the arms from a spool onto this one. And I'm actually not going to put this in a CURADO or a Scorpion. I'm going to put it in another reel, which I'm going to show you guys in a future video. Now next up is a purple spool, and this probably is the first, I guess, aftermarket spool for an AliExpress reel that I've ever seen. And this is going to go into the Fishband PW100. Now this spool is supposed to be 1 gram lighter than the stock spool for the PW100. So we're going to do some testing with this thing. And yeah, be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, we have 2 RORO spools for 2 different reels. Now the first one is for the Shimano ALDEBARAN BFS, and this spool is even lighter than the Avail spool that is currently in it right now. But this is going to go into a different reel because I picked me up another ALDEBARAN BFS. And then we have your Alpha's Air / STEEZ Air TW spool. from Roro. And actually the day I got my Alphas Air, I went on AliExpress and I saw this, so I ordered it. But yeah, we're going to see which reel is going to be the ultimate trout magnet bait caster. But that's coming in the future, because I got a few more videos I got to come out with before then. But I just wanted to give you guys an update as to what's coming in the future, so you can stop emailing me about these spools. Alright guys, thanks a lot.